How are we doing today?
I'm doing well. How
Yeah?
about yourself?
Great.
Yeah, what's new?
Oh, man, kicking the week off right. I think we talked about this last week, how my mom brought up that near-death experience guy.
Yeah.
So we're going to go see him on Wednesday, so I'm
Yeah.
excited for that.
I almost had a near-death experience over the week. And,
Did you really?
yeah, I did something stupid and Karen almost killed me.
I like that.
It was a near-death
It
experience.
was near-death.
Yeah.
You were close.
She kept me around.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I'm actually excited to see that because that, it'd be cool. We'll see. I'm curious to see what this guy's going to talk about.
Well, that's the thing. I want to see if he tries to put more of like a religious spin on it, or if he wants to like kind of share the experience of
just the spiritual side of it rather than the religious. Yeah, because
exactly it.
See what because I believe he only speaks. I don't know if he only speaks in Catholic Church, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that either.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out.
It's just kind of one of those unknown things that I'm like, all right, let's go take a look.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. That should be cool. Things are good with work.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to think. Had a great time listening to our speaker that we're going to talk about this week.
Oh, yeah. And who is this we're going to speak about
so
today?
This week, we're going to be talking about a woman named Esther Hicks who channels Abraham.
Yeah.
And Abraham Hicks is kind of who the topic will be this week. I'll let you kind of talk about this for a second, Frank, because you were telling me something interesting when I got here today. I had no idea your background and how long you've been listening to Abraham.
Yeah, I've I don't even know how long it's been. Even before like YouTube was really big,
But like over a decade.
Oh, well over a decade, definitely.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I was turned on to it by somebody, and then a couple other people talking about it. But I remember reading the books and finding like videos and stuff like that because YouTube wasn't really available at the time. Mm-hmm. And I would just, it was wild. So anyone listening today or anytime, she's a channel, and she's channeling an entity called Abraham. It's not really an entity. It's a culmination of guidance, higher guidance systems that she's channeling in. And so anyone that's not familiar with channeling, she's a really good one to start with because she's very broad, but she's also very light about it. It's to some people it's strange, but the truth is we all channel, and but she is very easy to understand. Very she explains it very easily. So
I like that you bring up that point because it's hard to step into watching somebody channel from a low vibration. And what I mean by that is if these concepts are new or, you're just getting into these concepts, it can be difficult to listen to somebody and not be skeptical when they say they're channeling, this higher entity, this higher power. And Esther, Abraham, who, Esther Hicks channels, it is digestible,
It is. And that's the thing.
It doesn't come off weird.
No, it doesn't. And, once you get past the idea of her channeling, it's the information that's coming through that's poignant.
Well, let's talk about, like, channeling, too, and the conditioning that we have around that.
Yeah.
Like you were sharing with me today. You were like, dude, when I was growing up, the idea of channeling was considered witchcraft. Yeah. Well, so there's a lot of conditioning, though. That's what I'm trying to explain to the audience.
Yeah, and it wasn't even readily available for me to understand those channels. You hear stuff about that, but but the truth is, when you come to understand this, we all channel.
That's it.
We're all doing it. We just we're unaware of it.
We're calling it something different.
Yeah, if you have an impulse to go do something and you go do it. Again, there's two types of impulses. There's one impulsive to what we call addiction of doing without, the ego impulsion, like compulsion, I should say, or impulsion to go do something. But when you get an impulse that's spontaneous and more enlightening, that's channeling. So anyone that came up, every human being has come up with an idea or something like that has never been looked at before, whether they shared it with the world or kept to themselves. That's a form of channeling. Information's coming through you that you haven't been aware of.
And we're all channeling on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, we're all channeling. We're going back from reiteration of information and channeling all day. But if you're not aware of it, you don't know how to hone it and how to utilize it. Yeah.
So like Mozart, Beethoven, that's channeling.
Yeah,
Albert Einstein, E = MC squared. That's channeling. I'm just trying to throw out something.
Yeah, like Einstein didn't intellectually figure out E = MC squared.
And he on record saying that.
Yeah, it came through him, and then it took him like it took him a better part of like I think it was like we hear different stories, either 12 or 16 years old, but by the time he's 26, it was published, E equals MC squared. So it took him anywhere from 10 to 12 years to figuring out how to put it into a formulation to where the world can figure it out. But even through that time when he was he had the vision, he'd seen it, but then how do I explain it? How do I put it on paper? That was part intellect, and a lot of it was channeling.
So how we look at our day-to-day lives and how we look at certain things, we label it. We say, this is something I created. And that's what the ego is. When we say, I did this, I accomplished this, I thought of this, et cetera. And when you can kind of flip the script and look at these ideas that come to you, or these things you pull out of the universe, that's more of the channeling that Frank and I are referring to.
I try to get away with that with Karen. I'm like, I had nothing to do with that.
That just came through me. That doesn't work.
It doesn't work in that situation.
Oh, that's
What do you want from me? I'm channeling.
I'm channeling.
Turn the damn channel.
But when you can look at something from that perspective, it allows you to loosen up and really take in the information. Because at the end of the day, you're going to know if something is truth or not simply by how it feels.
Yeah.
And this is like why, when you went to Sunday school and the Sunday school teacher was telling you a story about whatever, and you ask a question, and the Sunday school teacher just says, "Well, that's how it is."
Yeah.
That's just what you're supposed to believe.
Yeah, because maybe they didn't understand themselves, or perhaps they realized I can't explain to this child.
But it's it's that feeling you get when hey, something's up right now.
Yeah.
Something's not right about this. So when you listen to these people who channel, these higher beings, higher self, whatever you want to call it, you'll know if it's true simply by how it feels to you, by what the words that are coming through, how you perceive them, and how they feel to you.
And if you recognize it's true, you're actually in the midst of the channel as well.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of times when you're talking to a channel, listening to a channel, you're actually literally or
playing in the role,
but you're actually talking to yourself. So even like I've heard other channels saying that when they're having a conversation with them, and the person comes ask a question, and the information comes to the channel, and it's like, oh wow, thank you. It's like, well, thank yourself, because you're the one who actually generated the information. We already know this stuff. We're just playing in this game of conversation in order to, in the 3D world, to ingest it. And how do we utilize it in the world? We play with it. It's a game.
It is.
Yeah, so we bring it down to a lower, denser frequency, but that's what it's not about. It's about going to a higher frequency and bringing it down into a lower to materialize it. It's, because...
to experience it.
Yeah, I could sit and daydream. Like, you imagine, like, Robert Plant and Jimmy Page, just like, they're looking at each other humming, like, Stairway to Heaven, but they never recorded it. They never gave it to us.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
Yeah.
Never got to experience it.
But they did. But, what's interesting is how many songs have they done? How many songs have you done where you've never shared it with the world?
It's true.
You just shared it with yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not selfish. But when you actually share it with the outside world, you bring it to a lower dense frequency in order for the rest of the world to hear it. It's like, wow. So when we actually listen to something, so Stairway to Heaven from Jimmy Page and Robert Plant was far greater in their head than it was the time we got to the studio. But nonetheless, it was amazing. And they did the best they can, like everyone does, like Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel. It was far greater in his mind than it translated onto the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. But nonetheless, it allowed us. That's why people, like when he did the image of what God and Adam and stuff like that, people are like, oh, I'm like, well, he had to relate to where he was in the time. So it wasn't like, he wasn't like, this is what God looks like. People, oh my God, this is what God looks like. No, Michelangelo, like, no, it's not. It's the only painting I can do. I couldn't put like his wave pattern. It'd be weird.
No, absolutely.
That'd be actually cool if you look at Sistine Chapel. It was just a
ether.
Yeah. Like, wow.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna paint it next. I think they want me to repaint it for me.
I like that you bring that up though, because you're right. There's sometimes when we have these ideas that come to us and we have these experiences, when we put them on paper, when we put them on canvas, or when we put them on
They
record, they do come out differently.
do, but but we try to get it as best we possible. But that's why
I just remember that, like as a songwriter.
Yeah.
I absolutely remember.
Yeah, like in here
it comes out different.
Yeah.
But like every time.
Like, my camera, so he gets really upset. I'm like, inside it sounded great. I don't know what happened. It came out.
But I'm sure that happens when you're writing books too.
Yeah. Oh, it does. And what's interesting, now you allow it. So I get into this place where, okay, I get this field, and then all of a sudden the characters come through and the information. But the time I write it down, it's like a carbon copy. But that's okay. That's perfection in itself. But if you always try to get it to where here to here, I'm like, you're never going to write it. You're never going to play it. You're never going to do anything. Now you're going to drive yourself mad.
Yeah.
You have to get it out of you.
Like that one guy who kept needing to what there was a previous episode we did, but he kept needing to. He's like, it wasn't done yet. It's not done yet, and he had this great song, and then somebody else released that song.
Oh yeah,
remember that?
Greg Braden's friend that played the piano. He talked about that, and he kept trying to perfect it, and
he never put it out.
No, but somebody else in the field had gravitated towards that type of melody.
Mm-hmm.
The lyrics obviously were different, but the piece of music. So once the guy, from a copyright standpoint, he can't claim it to be his. You know? But that's why we should not wait. Just speak out. Except for,
that's it. These things that come through us, they're meant to be shared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have a great idea, like for me, I have a great idea to write a book or do a podcast. And when I first was when these ideas would come to me, like, well, who would want to read this? Who would want to listen to me? And that's the wrong way about going about it. The universe would not give you an idea without the audience. So the universe is like, build it and they shall come. But if you need them to come to build it, they won't come to nothing. There's nothing to come to. Mm-hmm. So right now, like when I write and I do stuff, I do it for the essence of the feeling to come through me. Whether someone reads a book or not, it's not my concern. Whether someone listens to the podcast or not, it's not my concern. But people do. Yeah. But if I made it my concern, I have to then pull people in and sell them on something. And I'm like, that's not my personality. I'm not a car salesman. Mm-hmm. But I'm just like right now, the process of me and Mike sitting there talking about, we're going to get talking about Abraham Hicks is why I'm doing it.
Absolutely.
Whoever enjoys it, listen to it, great. But we're going through a process, just like every moment of every day of life.
That.
Yeah, and that's what life is. So we just talk about it. But if I like, okay, I need this amount of people to listen to it in order for me to do anything, I would never get off my couch.
A lot of people are in that spot, and that that's why they won't start businesses, and that's why they won't.
Who's going to come? Who's going to want my service?
That's it. We get in this weird mental pattern of all the reasons why this can't work.
Yeah, and Abraham talks about that. So if you had an impulse to do something, the universe already has everything set for you. You don't have to worry about who's going to read it, who's going to watch it, who's going to listen. You don't need to worry about any of that. It's already set. Mm-hmm. We just have to show up and present. Yep. Let it come through us. Let it channel through us. And then the people will show up. And that's the fun part. If I already knew who was going to show up to read the book or listen to me, it would be boring. But I have no idea. So I put it out there and it's like, oh my God. So, hey, I read your book. I'm like, what'd you think? They're like, hey. No, I was kidding.
I was going to say, that definitely doesn't happen.
Yeah. You could have done better. But,
I personally love it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the way it works, man. Yeah. You got to just put it out, and that's what Abraham's talking about.
Yeah, and that's so
she gets at that.
Yeah, and that's what me and Mike we do for ourselves, because by having this conversation every week on recording it and putting it out there on YouTube and Spotify and Apple.
Yep.
But it actually reminds us to keep doing this, but it's to inspire people to actually go within. So when you get that natural impulse, I call it natural impulse, not the addictive impulse. When you get that natural impulse, act on it as best you can and watch what happens. It's flipping amazing. It really is. Yeah. And,
it feels good.
Yeah. And that's, Abraham obviously she really talks about that. She's a master about that. So,
but when I leave after doing Perspective Shift with Frank, I leave feeling on this next level vibration. Like I feel good doing this. So when you're playing music, when you're swimming, baseball, all these different things that make you feel good, there's a reason for that. Play into that. It's part and parcel of this whole experience that we're calling reality. do we want to mention anything else about
Abraham
so before we jump into these?
Yeah, we'll jump in. But like just to tail on to what you just said, just do whatever comes through, but do not look for the recognition. The recognition will show. It always does. But if you're looking for the recognition, you're never going to be happy. You never will. And then you'll stop doing what you love.
You're chasing your tail at that point.
Yeah, you're chasing your tail. You don't need to do that. Recognition is only for the ego. And the more in the creative state we're on, the ego has nothing to do with creation, because the ego only knows what was already done. So if I want to get into channel, I have to take my ego and say, step aside, and then allow the information to come through. But the ego then records everything that's happened, and the ego also lets me know, if I put a space between me and the ego, okay, let's go this direction, let's go that direction. So ego has a place, but not in that creative moment when you're channeling. You must place the ego aside, get lost in it. Because the ego's like, no one's going to like that. How many people do you think, well, all right, there's enough people talking about that. Let's stop doing that. And it's like, no. I'm like, this impulse wouldn't have came if that was the case. Like, the universe or God would not say, write a book, but no one's going to read it.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
Write a song, but no one's going to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
No. At least I don't think so. No, I was kidding.
No, that's the hang up. And Esther, or Abraham, she talks about this all the time.
Yeah, she does.
And it's important because she talks about, we're all waiting to feel that happiness before we start, rather than starting from that happiness. Yeah, and that's where we all get hung up.
Yeah, me and you've talked about this, kind of the point. It's like, get into the state, and then, but people are they're trying to do stuff to get into the state. So
matter on matter.
Yeah, I remember someone saying this is interesting. We're not human doers, we're human beings. So being is a state. When you get into the state of happiness or exhilaration, then the doing comes natural. But if you're trying to do something, get exhilaration, it's going to wear yourself out.
Well, a lot of this goes back to our conditioning from school.
Yeah.
We have been taught, that you need to do A, B, and C to achieve this.
And do you know why we do that? Because somebody watched somebody in what we're going to use a term from Abraham. Somebody watched somebody that was in the vortex do something. Instead of like mirroring them, their feeling, they mirrored what they did.
The activity.
Oh my God, that person's successful. What did they do? And they did these 7 things. So if you do these 7 things, you'll be right where they are, and you can't. Yeah. You got to understand, it wasn't the 7 things; it's how they felt. It just so happened it was 7 things prior to getting to the state where you saw the outcome, where you saw the product of their joy. Mm-hmm. This is why we're taught this way. It's not that people are evil; they're just misunderstanding it. So, at the basis of everything, when you ask somebody questions like, how did you do that? It's like, no. The question is, what state were you in when you produced that? How did you get into that state? How do you allow that state? It's a natural state. And then, but if I ask them, what did they do? Like, I remember reading magazines on, like Cream magazine when I was a kid, asking different musicians, like, how do you prepare to write a song? And I realized everyone does it differently. There isn't a right or wrong way. Same with authors, everything. So, and why is that? Because what's channeling through them is for them. Like, God's like, okay, there's only one way to write a book and make music. First, you have to sit in front of a guitar and stare at it for 20 minutes.
And then we're going to move on to the second step.
And that's how religions start. Yeah. Because they watch someone stare at the guitar for 20 minutes,
and they make up a narrative in their head.
And then they pick up a guitar, and then they play amazing things. Like, okay, if I stare at my guitar for 20 minutes, after that I should pick up something, play amazing. I'm like, no, for all you know, the guy was like, where did I park my car?
Just lost in thought.
Yeah, where did I park? It doesn't matter. I'm going to play a guitar. Yeah, you have no idea what's going on. The guy.
He was preparing. We create these crazy narratives as we perceive something and interpret it. And we're like, oh, this is what that person did to achieve that success.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's just some story you created in your head.
Yeah, and everyone's going to, like...
Where did that person, what state did they come from?
Yeah.
What vibration, frequency were they on to produce that event?
Yes, remember, we're not human doers, we're human beings. But in the state of being, you will do.
Yeah.
So it's not about just sitting around. But, so what do you say? We play the first clip?
Let's jump into the first one.
All right, let's go for it.
This one's good.
This is really good stuff, people. Check it out.
Check it out.
So I've been listening to you for a while, and I get the thing that you say that nothing is more important than how we feel, and the quickest way to get things that we want is to be happy. So,
and what you want is to be happy. That's interesting the way you said it. The quickest way to get what we want is to be happy. Well, but the reason you want what you want is because you think having it will make you happy. So the quickest way to what you want is to be happy, so you're already there. So then it can come more quickly. But humans worry about that. If I'm already happy, even though it hasn't come, somebody's going to hold it out. Like my mother did. If I was good, then she didn't give it to me. I really needed to be needy. I needed to be needy before my mother would give stuff to me. And the universe is not your mother. Your mother was screwed up.
That was good.
I love that because she uses the example of conditioning as a joke. You know, your mother. This is how we were taught.
Yeah,
it all goes back to the stories we repeat in our head.
And that's what I love about it. She lightens everything up.
Oh yeah,
we take things so seriously, and Abraham, without being rude to people, she lightens up the stuff. So yeah, and it's not even the mother's fault, but that's the mother. We're doing the best. I remember Karen said this the other day. They're doing the best with what they have, and it's like,
there you go.
In one swap moment, you're like saying, "Oh, they're just human." Next one was like, "Well, that's all they have."
Again, it's all part and parcel to it. The reason I like that clip so much is happiness is what every single one of us is chasing.
Yeah, that's right. $1
You're
million
not
will make you
chasing
happy.
money. Yeah, you're not chasing the family. You're not chasing the romantic partner. You're not chasing the friends. You're chasing happiness.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And
we all are.
Yeah, Abraham talks about this a lot. She's like, she's not trying to talk you out of the manifestation. Matter of fact, this is how you get to the manifestation. Because if you remain happy, not having money is impossible. In other words, abundance is going to come your way. The friends will come your way. The lover, whatever you're looking for, will come your way. But you must get into the state first. So a lot of times it seems like, oh, just be happy and don't worry about the stuff. No, she's saying get in a state of happiness. You don't need to worry about the stuff because it shows up.
It naturally is drawn to you.
It naturally drawn to you, yeah.
We didn't bring this up, but law of attraction is a major part of. We should have brought that up too in the beginning.
Well, yeah, law of attraction is definitely a coined phrase from Abraham. Obviously.
It's just it's a universal law, is what it is.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's in one like
you attract what you are.
Yeah, exactly. What you put out is what you get back, and that's the law of attraction.
See, what I like about her take on all this, and starting from there is she brings it back to the way we were raised with the mother, and she brings that up because the reason we have trouble not just being happy is we tell ourselves we don't deserve to act that way without the outside world either giving us it or us out currently having it. It's like this little chase where it's like, hey, I can't actually show this immense spark or emotion until I'm in possession of said item or said romantic partner or said, activity, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's where the real hang-up is we have been taught that if you don't have it, you have to play that role of not having it.
Yeah. And think about all the stuff that we want today, right? Like, I want to get this to be happy. I'm like, but, it's like almost saying you go back like 300 years. Were people not happy then? Because the things you want didn't even come into the mind of existence.
iPads.
Yeah, iPhone.
Ferrari.
Yeah, Ferrari. Yeah, nothing did.
Mansion.
Yeah. Well,
I guess they had castles.
Not good plumbing, though. It was horrible.
There you go, plumbing.
Plumbing.
But all of these things, and I like that you bring that up because Sadhguru actually talks about that all the time. He's like, we live like kings now. We could walk out. There's a meal. Like, we don't have to worry about food, shelter, air conditioning, water, clean running water. All these different things we take so much for granted.
And I think he mentions this, and again, I believe this is why there's a lot of mental disruption now. Obviously, COVID hit and all this stuff, but we're, especially in a society here in America, we pretty much, I don't care how much money you make, you have access to anything you want. Yeah, because whether you're driving in a $100,000 car or a $30,000 car, the technology inside the car is the same.
You're
pretty
still
much
moving.
Yeah. Yeah, one looks flashier, one could go faster, but you still have all the stuff. But years ago, the difference between the cars was huge, right? now we're at a point where we have all this stuff, and this is why we're getting miserable, because we realize, wow, I have the money, I have the car, I have the wife, I have all this stuff, but I'm not happy. And I'm like, this is an amazing time in history. Why? Because now you can stop chasing. Where 300 years ago, like, I don't have anything, so I'm still pursuing happiness. So it felt like a good thing to do. So you were miserable, but not that miserable. When you have everything and you're miserable, it's like it becomes like suicidal. I want out of this.
And this is where the Kardashians are at.
Yeah, well,
I'm just making
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they might be happy. I don't know who knows.
No, exactly.
But
it's just funny to bring that up because, well, that's the world we live in.
Yeah,
you know?
They're selling the outside world to us, like how you look, how you do stuff. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but that will not bring happiness. That's just distraction or the play. It's the prop on the stage.
It's the constant asking of yourself, what's next?
Yeah, but if you don't have the script, I don't care what props are on the stage, you're dead in the water. So the script is the state, the being that we become in the moment in which we're in. And then watch what comes out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. So
let's jump into the next clip.
All right.
This one's a little bit longer, but this one's great. She dives into, kind of a core concept of hers, and that's why we selected this clip.
All right, perfect. Check it out.
Imagine taking your canoe down to the river's edge, a very nice, fast-moving stream, and your oars or paddles are already attached to your boat, and you put it in the water, and you deliberately turn it upstream and begin paddling very hard against this fast-moving current. And we say, why not just turn and go with the flow? And our human friends invariably say, doesn't that seem lazy? That seems lazy. And then they will say, my mother would not approve of that. Or my teachers. They all had me pointing the other way. In fact, every plaque on my wall was based upon paddling upstream. And I was measured against the others who did it too. And the better we did it, the better we were able to fight that current, then the more proud our human friends were of us, and the bigger the trophies and monuments. And we hear that when you die, there are even more. And we want you to know something. In fact, it's worth writing this down. Nothing that you want is upstream. Nothing that you want is upstream. And the reason we know that is because we've seen the cycle of life. We know that source extended itself here into that which is you. And we know that you are asking, as a result of your leading edge experience, just like you knew you would, for more. And we know that source is becoming that more that you are asking for and is calling you to it. And so we know the source of the stream. And we know that when you turn and go with the stream, you feel ever so good. That's what positive emotion is. Varying degrees of it, but it's what positive emotion is. And we also know that when you buck that current, it can beat up on you pretty good. And that's what negative emotion is. We want you to understand that there is only one stream that you might be going with or against, but there is only one stream. And when you learn from those around you to go against the stream, then you want to pronounce that there are evil streams, that there are streams of sickness or streams of badness or streams of poverty. We say, no, just one stream. You're just not going with it. You say, oh, that can't be. If it's a stream of goodness, why is it beating me up so? And we say, because you're clinging to the bottom. It's beating you up because you're not going with your self-created stream. Do you get this? And that really is the strongest point that we want to make with you. This stream of well-being is a powerful stream, and it takes you downstream whether you go easily or not. In other words, when you look around at your environment, you've just got to acknowledge that well-being abounds. Your planet continues to spin in its orbit. And even beyond the well-being that is obvious, more obvious to some of you than others, granted, but even beyond the well-being that is obvious, we want to remind you that even when you get further downstream and you have that which you call your physical death, which there isn't any of, we like to be disrespectful of death since there isn't any and call it croaking. When you croak, you really move rapidly with this stream of well-being. In other words, the stream of well-being is not only dominant, it's all that there is. So while you can be in this physical body and you can fume and fuss and give yourself a lot of grief and point in opposition of the stream to the point that you beat yourself up pretty good and then claim that there cannot possibly be a stream of well-being because your life is going so badly, We want to say to you, if you would let go of your resistance and start going with the flow, you will discover how good this stream can be to you.
That was good.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, she's really good at explaining stuff. That's what I like about it.
Yep. Well, she explains it from such like a
simplistic.
simple, easy to digest way, you know?
And that's what it is. The universe is a very complex, made-up system. But
Only because we make it that way.
Well, the universe is,
You know
but
what I
the
mean?
utilization of it is simplistic.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So just like technology today, you look at the iPhone, it's a lot easier to use than the rotary phone as a kid. I had to like and wait. It was funny. I remember you dial your number and you had to wait for it to go back. And I would try to speed it up by pushing it, and it just messed it up. And my dad would yell at me, smack me. You gotta break the goddamn phone, you know. But right now, you just push a button. You don't even have to push a button. You can actually do voice recognition.
Yep.
Because it's more complex than that rotary phone that was sitting on the wall. And because of the complexity, the simplicity of the use. So we, as individuals, create complex through the doing rather than just allowing. When you get into a state of being, things are simplified. And the analogy uses the river. If you actually go with the flow of the river, all you then use your paddle as a rudder to steer away from rocks and move around. There's always going to be challenges. The river's going to speed up. There's going to be high rapids, and there's going to be calmness. But when you're moving with it, you're actually getting somewhere. But when you're paddling upstream, the second you put the paddle down, zoom, you just like it's like walking on a conveyor belt the wrong way.
Yep.
You just got to it's torture.
But everything she's talking about in this clip is awesome, because this is what we're all experiencing. So this movement, this life, this linear process, everything how we see it unfolding, it doesn't stop and catch up for us.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of people get hung up, and you get that anxiety and that stress, and you feel so overwhelmed because everything continues to move. And there is no let me put a pause on this. It's a constant movement. And that's why you hear phrases like, things don't get easier. You just get stronger. Yes, you get stronger, but you're more aware of what this experience is now. The reason it would go with the flow is such a well-known saying, if you will, is because that's all there is. There only is flow.
If we replace stronger with insightful, just start to because is stronger. We want to be stronger. We want to be more insightful.
The more aware we are to what's going on, in my opinion, allows you to go with that flow.
Because there's something innate in every human being. We're always trying to do things more efficiently. And if you're going with the flow, there is nothing more efficient in that moment which you're going through it.
I heard a really cool story one time about, it was like Navy SEALs. And they did this training where they were trying to select a group, like like 3 people. And there was like a group of these SEALs. And they had to go through this training. And one of their trainings was they were, one of the sessions, they were dropped into like a moving lake, and they weren't told where to go or how to get out of it. But it was the ones that let go, the SEALs that let go and just allowed themselves to float.
Well, the water knows where it's going.
Well, that's it. And so the ones that didn't fight it and went with the flow, they got to where they needed to quicker, ultimately were the ones that were selected. But there were, SEALs that were trying to fight against this water and go upstream, and they tired out. And it was to see who's going to naturally go with the least amount of resistance.
Yeah, have you ever been whitewater rafting?
I thought that was cool. No, never.
All right, so it happens. If you fall in the water, hopefully you're wearing a life vest, but even if you're not, we are buoyant. But when you start fighting against it, that's when we get sucked under. But if you get onto your back and just kind of, take a look at stuff, try to steer yourself away from rocks, it will take you to calmer waters. And just like you're in the boat floats as a human body. We sink when we're fighting against. So, like she says, grabbing onto the bottom of the river. And
these metaphors, I mean, they're real examples of life.
Yeah, the metaphors and actual things.
That's it. Yeah. And it's cool to see, that it's like that.
I learned that when I was a kid. I lived on the South Shore of Long Island, and in the summertime you get like a riptide or some. And I remember one time I almost drowned. It was weird. It was like it was a swirl. So I stepped into this water, and it was going down, and I was
pulling.
Yeah, it was pulling me in, and it was weird because when I stepped out of it onto the other side, there was nothing, but it was a little current, and this guy came up and grabbed me out of that. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, he was a lifeguard, and he goes, if that ever happens again, if you ever get pulled out, do not fight it. Allow it to pull you out, and it'll stop, and then swim parallel to the shore, and then come in. Because these are just little streams. So I learned that. If you're getting pulled out, do not fight against it. Allow it to pull out, and then it'll stop pulling you, and then swim parallel, and then you could easily come in. And then at some point, the wave will actually then take you in. Everything washes up onto the shore. But when I was fighting it, like within like a minute, I was exhausted. And I'm like trying to fight it. He's like, just relax. And it popped me out. So then you learn that. It's like, wow, what am I fighting it for? Let it take you. And then you swim out of it. And then the other waves will take you back in.
And this is how we need to go about life.
Yeah. Like surfers know this. Like people living near the ocean, they know this. That's why they're always out in the water, and they seldom drown. You know, they drown. It's by some weird accident of some type. But you know,
Some
then
crazy event.
Then you get someone that goes out in the water first time and they drown because they didn't know how to function in the water. Yeah, they didn't know how to let go. Yeah,
and that's why a lot of us are drowning in life. We don't know how to let go.
And know this, even though people think we have to be taught. The people that actually figure this out, it's instinctive. But because we were taught the opposite, that instinctive part of us is gone.
Well, and that's what Abraham was talking about when she says, I've got all these medals on my wall from swimming upstream. She's talking about all the school events, all these things that teach us to just regurgitate information and continue to paddle upstream. That's what she's talking about. We as a society kind of celebrate, hey, great job doing that struggle, you know? And it's funny.
Yeah, how like people like go to the gym, like, how long do you stay in the gym? And I'm like, you know, if I say 2 hours, wow. I'm like, no, I was in the gym for 2 hours, so I lost my freaking keys. I couldn't find them.
I was getting a smoothie.
My workout was done.
Sauna.
My workout was done for a half hour. I just couldn't find my keys.
Hell yeah.
It took me an hour and a half. But it's funny because that's where we celebrate that type of.
Well, here's a great example. Burnout. This is celebrated in our country. People wear this as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Like, I work 90 hours a week.
Yeah.
I'm dying. I'm stressed.
It's nutty.
And we are like, they say it like they've got, like, it's impressive.
Yeah.
And it's more, like, I sit back now and I'm listening to people. I'm like, wow, that's really unhealthy.
Yeah. Prisons do the same thing.
You know?
I got 5 years. Oh, yeah? I got
Seriously.
7, buddy.
Yeah. Like, hey, let's turn it up.
Bad, yeah.
You know?
And then the other guy's like, I got life. Oh, shit, stay away from that dude.
But this whole idea of competition, this goes back a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Edwin, or why can't I think of it? The evolution guy. The idea of competition.
Oh, Darwin?
Yeah, Darwin.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, just the idea that, you know,
survival of the strongest.
That we're always in competition. These ideas that were created, you know, in the early 1900s that we still live by. That's such outdated science. It's just not true.
Well, yeah, and we talked about that because he even knew that at some point, if one or two of these things were verified or on whatever, that idea of survival of the strongest is how we put it. Mm-hmm. Later on, they put survival of the fittest. It would have been null and void. We didn't come here to compete. Now, competing, you learn competing, you realize it doesn't work, but collaboration works. But we live in a universe where all is accepted. Hatred and love is accepted. But when you're in a loving state, it works better for you than hating. All right?
You're going with the flow.
Yeah, so but it's, again, like I've talked to you earlier about the understanding of life and energy. So you look at, you know, how you define God or universal source. And people talk about, I remember someone's like, why did God create the devil? So they look at God and the devil as opposites. I'm like, well, you can't really look at God as having an opposite. But if you look at God as creating everything in that sense, but I look at God or the universal source as all energy. So I can either, you know, toast my toast in the morning in my toaster with electricity, or I can electrocute someone with it and kill them. Mm. It isn't the electricity that's bad, it's the utilization, a misunderstanding what it's used for. So I can literally end somebody's life, or I can have a nice piece of toast with some good butter.
All using the same electricity.
Butter. Karen, like,
the New Yorkers coming out of you.
Butter. And some jam.
Good,
yeah, put jam on it, too.
Me too. Oh, yeah. But good point. You know, like, that is so powerful because energy, like, that's okay, what, I can eat, survive, enjoy, or I have this has the ability to take a life, a human life.
Yeah.
Is energy bad because it can take a human life? Absolutely not. And so you
Yeah.
see how we put, it's what spectrum are we putting God on?
And competition comes in the field of not thinking there's enough for me. And Abraham talks
Coming
about
from
that a lot.
lack.
Everyone has their own pie. So you don't need to, and actually, not that you only have your own pie, you actually make your pie. You can make millions of pies in your lifetime. So if I gain $1 million in a year, it doesn't mean Mike goes deficient.
Yeah.
There's more billionaires on the planet than ever before, but it doesn't mean people are in like I'm impoverished to the point where I owe $50 million. Like it doesn't
Not
work
how it
that way.
works.
Yeah, no.
Media, what we consume, they want you to think that there's this finite amount of wealth. And this is where, this had a big effect on me. I used to think like, I'm never going to get ahead. Like it's already all been kind of taken up. And this is how society portrays it to us through media, through, news, through all this stuff. But that's just twisting us more and more into this pretzel. And I like to give this as an example, but like Facebook, when Facebook came out, how much money that Mark Zuckerberg, billions, young kid type of thing. Did all of the wealthy people in the world, the Fords, Buffett, did they get poor because he got rich? No.
More people got rich.
Yes. And so to think that there's this finite amount of money that we're like taking from, it's false.
Now, why it's is interesting. So it's infinite. But the thing is, we keep reaching for the outside world. It feels like we're going to have a finite life. So we go in, it's like, okay, I want to be a billionaire. I'm like, it's been done before. I'm not saying, like, in other words, if you're going to do something and your life's experience is drawing you to that, and $1 billion is necessary, it will show up. But what do you think like Mark Zuckerberg was like, I want to be a billionaire. He's like, I got this great idea that people can socialize. It started with, I think, in Harvard.
Yeah.
And then it exploded throughout the world. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't like, I want to be a billionaire. He had a great idea, and it just turned out to be a billion idea. And that's so. As we start to look at life, just focus on the idea, because right now it's like if he's looking for a new project, which he's probably working on one right now.
Yeah, the metaverse.
That's his excitement, not the money. I need more money is not what he's saying.
Not at all.
And that goes for everyone. That. And if someone invented something and they made a lot of money and has invented something since, they're still talking about the cocktail party. They're talking about when I was I was working in the garage on this thing, like what are you doing now? I was like, I got too much money.
I'm relaxing.
I don't want to work anymore. I'm like, yeah, but that was a glorious. As a kid,
it is in the journey. It is in the work.
Yeah, like it's funny that people are like, hey, let's go on a hike. I'm like, it's funny. Come on, let's hike. 15 miles. I'm like, you just lost me. I'm not going to do that. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, when I was a kid, I never set out to hike or ride my bike 15 to 10 miles, but I probably did 30 in a day. I just allowed the woods where I was walking to allow me to guide me in, and I sit down, climb a tree. At the end of the day, if I had a Fitbit on if every kid in the 70s and 80s had a Fitbit on, the thing would have blew up. Now we're like, I got to get up and walk around. That's all we did. We allowed the system to take us. We didn't calibrate. But now it's like, I want to get back there. I'm going to go hike in the woods. And I'm like, go hike, but stop with the miles and stuff like that. You're putting the outcome before doing it. How do you feel on it? So people are like, how was you like, I hiked 5 miles today. I'm like,
it's because that's seen as an accomplishment.
How did you feel?
It's a society conditioning thing.
Yeah, I'm like,
we have to share our wins.
Yeah, if you so happen to hike 20 miles, great. But how did you feel in the hike? What was the state of being on the hike? I don't care how many miles you did. That's just weird.
Well, that's just a detail, and
it's weird.
We're all hyper focused on these details.
Like, how long do you work out? I'm like, that's not the benefit. I go to work out. I go to the gym like I did when I was a kid. I went to the playground. Some days I'm like, I'm working out like, dead into it. The other days I'm like, hanging out with my friends, in the corner of the gym talking about silly shit like the kids did in the playground. I don't like, oh my God, I gotta get back to this. That's too rigid for me.
Yeah.
But there's exhilaration, whether I'm having a great conversation or I'm doing a great workout, it just comes to me. Yeah. And I step into it. And again, we were all kind of taught how to, set things up, like organize stuff, and I'm slowly backing away from that. Yeah, I enjoy going to the gym, but I try not to like, okay, what am I doing today? I got to do this many reps. I'm like, no, I'm getting a freaking headache now. Let's stop.
Yep.
If I go to the gym and just talk to somebody and leave, I'm okay with that. But that tends not to happen. I just like the motion moving around. That's my thing, though.
But that comes from the layers of conditioning. You know, we're taught, to create a plan, to, we always have to know what's next.
Because
this is why we never live in this moment. Is right now we're saying, all right, after this, what am I going to have for lunch? And then, what work do I got to do today?
Yeah.
And then, I got to do this evening. We're never just now. We're never just here.
Yeah, we're looking for the accomplishment rather than the state that actually brought the accomplishment.
Yeah.
The
Did I
accomplishment
complete the
will
story?
come. But, like in the beginning when me and Mike first started doing this, I remember we would record it, watch it, and I would watch it over. I'm like, oh, it's great. And then we look at how many people watching. And oh, my God. Yeah. Now it's like the second we press stop on here and we get everything delivered off to Kayla, all of a sudden, me and Mike, like, what are we doing next week?
Yeah.
What are we doing next week? And the people come like, hey, what's up? I'm like, because now I'm like working on next week's thing, person, whoever, whatever we're going to do. All of a sudden people are like, well, what's this week's coming up? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, well, I'm working on this thing. I just let it go.
Yep.
I let it go because it's the creative aspect, not what's going to happen. I'm like, whatever happens, happens. I'm like, I'm not going to control. I have no control of it. It's going to create anxiety. And then all of a sudden, the next Monday comes and I only have one day of prep because I was worried about what's happening. I'm like, no. So we forget about it.
That's the race we live on a day-to-day basis, too. This is why
it took, I don't know about Mike, but it took me a little while to get over that. Now I'm like, people I saw go in. I'm like, I did the podcast. And I watched Saturdays. I'm like, oh, yeah, how was that? They're like, oh, it was good. I'm like, ooh, who did we feature again?
Yep.
And then obviously, if you got, it's just, we're always moving. It's like a new day, new playground. Like kids don't show up at the playground on Saturday and talk about what they did Friday at the playground.
Let's dissect Friday's activity.
Yeah, it's Friday. Let's go over this. Let's brief about it.
Let's have a quick briefing on everything.
Remember 2 months ago when I jumped off the swing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, I don't know how you talk. I don't even know what you did yesterday.
I like that you continue to bring up kid examples too, because it's the perfect. From birth, we are always in our most natural state. We learn and we are taught and we are trained and we are programmed to live in this mind-created world.
Yeah.
And where we learn time, where we learn months, days, all this type of stuff, and we say, all right, this is the box that I must live in.
Yeah.
And we can let go of that box.
Yeah.
And so when you start to see the game on its face, you start to play it differently. You're saying, oh, I don't need to get sucked into this. And you let go of it. And then it feels good. And then from that good feeling, something that you were hoping happened or something that you knew would come to fruition happens. And it's this like forever giving experience. Like the more I let go, the more I get. The more I give, the more I get.
Well, this is what it is. So Jesus said, become childlike, not childish, but childlike. And people are like, what does that mean? I'm like, children didn't know enough not to stay in that state. Abraham's talking about the same exact thing. Everything upstream was already done. It's like watching a movie over and over and over and over and think you're going to laugh the same as you did the first time. But downstream is a brand new movie that you've never seen. And with the ego can only ingest or digest what it already knows. So when you get the ego out of the way, I'm like, I'm going into the unknown by going down the river. That's where the childlike state is. That's where the excitement is. That's where the glory is. Now you're producing new knowings. But to get back to the childlike state, it's not about becoming ignorant. It's about realizing you are ignorant. We know very little about this world. We know very little about the human body. So when I actually admit to myself I know nothing, it frees me up to go down the river. But if I think I know everything, I'm too intellectual sound, I am swimming upstream. And as I'm swimming upstream, I'm like, I invented that tree. I did this. I did that. I did blah, blah, blah. I know about this. Anyone have a question? And all of a sudden, everyone just passing by as they're going downstream because they're sick and tired of hearing you.
Yep.
And that's really what it was. That's Abraham brings that brilliantly. Downstream is where everything new is. Upstream, it's old. It's the past. We don't need that. It's already gone through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
So we got another third clip. This one,
Yeah,
this is a good
let's
one.
preface this before we get into it, because
Yeah,
this is
talk
a
about it.
topic that people have hit me with in these moments where it's like, listen, I'm not going to brush over this because it's a topic, and it's a topic of death. And as you listen to it, the woman's asking Abraham a question, and in this, she had just lost her son.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to understand that life is eternal, you have a different perspective on it. It doesn't mean you won't mourn. Mourning is the process in which we learn to let go. And letting go it's like we didn't come here. It's like, oh yeah, so and so died. What's for lunch?
Mm-hmm.
No, the mourning process is meant to go through. We all go through it, but going through it, like I've been through it a couple times in my life, it shows, and each time I go through it, it was different. It shows me something else. It doesn't mean you don't feel sad. It doesn't mean you don't feel lost. You do, but it forces you to let go, because there's nothing you can do. It's done. And that's kind of what this is. This is usually a very touchy topic, because we could talk about this when it comes to money and, getting a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a new house, and do all this stuff. But when it comes to death, people like they want to say that's different. I'm like, no.
But let's
everything is connected.
So why do people say that? It comes down to attachment.
Yeah.
Attachment. Attachment is a narrative. It's a story.
Yeah.
So we all have attachments to our mothers, our fathers, our siblings, our children, our significant others, our friends, and we have these stories about them. And media, television shows, Disney Channel, the prince and the princess. This creates love. The relationship a mother should have with their son, or a father and their daughter, whatever. These are very heavy imprints of how things should be and should feel.
Yeah.
These are attachments that we align with. And so when, like, for example, there's countries where when the members of their society or culture pass away, they celebrate. But in our culture, we've been taught to mourn. And so it would be inappropriate for me to go to a funeral here in the States and, be laughing, joking, trying to tell these great stories, throwing a party. People, what? We must cry. We must mourn.
And that is starting to change, though.
Of course it is. But these are psychological narratives. These are ideas that we tell ourselves, and these attachments that we hold on to, they bring with them a lot of dense emotion.
Well, that's what it is that's conditional living.
Yeah.
So when you love someone unconditional and they do pass away, it's not that you're going to go out and go to Disneyland the next day. You will mourn it, because it's what you're missing is the frequency output that they will hear projecting out there. But then the mourning process shows us how to communicate on a different level completely, going into more of the fifth and other dimensions where the person lives. It's almost like when and again, this is just a light analogy. I'm not going to compare it to death, but if you have a child and they leave the house to go off to college, well, you can't just open the door and talk to them anymore. You have to catch them in between frat parties and English class, and you do that by phone, so it's short. So you have to learn how to communicate differently. So where before, when your child was living home, you call them up on the phone, get your ass home, it's dinner time. But now when they're off to college, getting on the phone is precious. So, but when you actually stop to drop conditions and just fully love the person, you're gonna notice they're gone, because the third dimensional world of the human beings, we're emotional beings. We're just learning to what these emotions are. Doesn't mean you're going to be completely cold. That's not what we're talking about. But when you do that, you realize they're in a better place. I'm crying for myself because I wish I was there. I wish I was with them. And that's really what comes down to. And, as we hit this clip, Abraham will explain. And I find it very interesting. I just want to preface with that, because we don't take this topic lightly. Correct. But it's not one we haven't really, we don't talk about much.
It's a heavy
it's heavy
topic.
because we make it heavy.
Yep.
But, yeah. So let's see how you guys like this one.
Jump into it. All right.
I'm so happy to be here with you. Up until about 3 weeks ago, I would have said that I was calibrated, really good. And then about 3 weeks ago,
Esther would have said the same thing. But how do you know that you're calibrated unless sometimes you're not calibrated? How are you going to know? If you just tune your guitar and you just stay there, and then you ask the whole world to tune up to you, I'm the dominant one, you guys make your instruments sound good with mine. So it's helpful to find yourself out of calibration. Makes you good at it, gives you sea legs.
what took me out of calibration was my son made his transition.
That's a big one. It's a big one. We
at
get
the hands
that.
of someone else, and
Yeah, that's big.
I'm kind of lost.
Yeah, it's easy to understand that. It's not likely that we would spend enough time right here and now to bring you into alignment. We have a few things to tell you, things that we know. How well do you know us?
15 years.
How have you found your relationship with this information to be? In other words, is it believable?
Oh, very much.
So you do understand the eternal nature,
I do.
and you do understand that there's no death conceptually. It feels very different when it's up close and personal like that. So the thing that helped Esther the most when Jerry made his transition is that the environment around her, a good deal of it, caused her to calibrate to missing him. There were just so many things. In fact, the other day she moved from one house to another house, and somebody found a box of his shoes and belts and delivered it to the new house. And Esther opened it and laughed. She said, I don't think you need these now. Well, it's not that long ago that would have taken her to her knees. In other words, that would have just been too much. Someone should look in every box before they show it to me. It's not just that as time passes you feel better. It's that as time passes you rediscover them where they are instead of looking for them where they were. And where they were, they're not. So every time you look where they were, you feel the absence of them, where when you look where they are, you feel the presence of them. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
So you know that, and you want us to have something more to say to you than that.
No.
There's no death.
I know. The physical loss feels really big to me right now.
We know, but you know what we've been talking about all day here today? You all keep getting all animated about manifestations when most of your life is the translation of vibration into that. In other words, everything that is manifested is old news. And it's the vibration that's the new stuff. It's a vibration where the new feelings and the new energies are. Hear this. What's the difference between a vibration of something that you're in the process of creating that's still in the vibrational ethereal form that hasn't come out where you can see it yet? You're not seeing it and hearing it and smelling it and tasting it and touching it. It's just this vibrational thing. What's the difference between the vibration of those things and the vibration of someone who is non-physically focused, who's all mixed up in all of that with you? The biggest part of your life is in this phase, and yet you all think that it's all about what's manifested, and that's old news.
And it is, and that's something we have to come to grips with. And again, until like, and I don't know this because everyone goes through it differently. Like to me, if I heard this prior to it, I'd be like weird. But when I was going through it, and then it's been many years, I now get it. I do. Again, everyone has their own process through it, but when you actually step back and look at it, there's tremendous truth here. What is old news. And you know, every individual that comes into our life, whether it's your child, your parents, they're a field of energy. All right. The physical corporeal part of them will leave. Just like, you know, I look at my child, like he was 5 years old once, you know, he's up to my waist, and now he's like
Full
3.
grown.
Yeah, he's 3 inches taller than me, son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
And so that 5-year-old is no longer here. So if you actually start to contemplate that, like, yeah, the 18-year-old me is no longer here. I've died. But it's not to, like, you know, even parents like that have children still alive, and I would emotionally get it. Like, I would watch an old video of my son, and when he was young, it was like all of a sudden it's like it feels like you're mourning watching that because he's no longer young. But then, oh, he's still here. So if there was a transition and someone died, yeah, if I go back and even my son's alive and what we can consider life, and I look like 5 years old, it will hit me because I can no longer find him at the 5-year-old body. Mm-hmm. But I can find him at the 19-year-old body now. But if someone to transition, if you're looking for them as they were, you're going to get lost. You have to look, that's why I don't spend all day watching my son when he was 3 years old on video. I'm actually in the present moment with as much as I can with him now and now and now and now and now. And then one day there'll be now where I won't be here or he won't be here, but it'll be now. And then they'll have to look in a different place than in the moment that passed. And that's what she's saying. And she eloquently says it because it's a very difficult concept to grasp.
Well, it's very touchy to navigate because there's so much emotion behind these experiences, especially death, and especially a child, in death. Because now it's the relationship.
They're here
of
and
the
they're
parent.
gone.
Yeah.
They're here, then they're gone. Yeah.
And so this level of emotion, and this is why certain topics, like people say don't talk about religion and politics, and they say things like this. It's because there's so much mental chatter behind these, and so much identity that we have that when we talk about these concepts, emotions go haywire, and people get upset, verbally start spats, whatever. On a level like death, we're in a very vulnerable position, and so to talk about
whether you're
these
Republican or
concepts,
Democrat, you're gonna die. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter if you're Catholic or Muslim, you're gonna die.
Exactly.
So, and what we call death is just a transition into something new, and we do it all the time. Like, biologists say every 7 years you produce a completely different body. Every cell. Your stomach cells can. I think you have a new stomach every month, and goes on from your bone structure to your brain matter and everything else. So after 7 years, you're completely anew. But until you look at a picture of yourself 7 years ago, you don't really notice it. You just whatever the entity that's in me, the I am, if you will, is always in there. So when this corporeal disappears from what we call this physical plane, the I am will still be there, still be somewhere. It won't be as accessible as I am now in the physical presence, but if you get into a different frequency, a different understanding, the access to that will be there. Again, Abraham's what? A channel?
Yeah.
She's channeling entities, higher self entities, right? Mm-hmm. So it's learn how to tap into, right? Because I had to call the dorm room and where my son was to see where he was. Obviously, I'm old school because he has a cell phone. It doesn't matter where he is. He's got the same
but I know
number.
what you mean.
Yeah. But so you tap into that, but now you're doing it differently. And it's the shift in everything is where we feel the struggle and the pain. Just like when you're in an airplane taking off, you got the G-force, the gravitational pull is what you feel. It can rattle the body. It's not till the plane gets up to 30,000 feet and steadily it feels like you're not even moving, but yet you're moving at 530 miles an hour. It's like, so in order to shift and change things, you're going to feel G-force. You're going to feel sadness. You're going to feel these things. But when you start to understand what it's part and parcel of, it's getting you ready for something. But the moment, when you stay in the moment, you actually understand it and you don't suffer. Sorrow isn't suffering. Sorrow is sorrow. Mourning is mourning. It's not suffering. But if you're trying to hold on to that 5-year-old kid that's now 19, it's going to be a bumpy ride. It's going to be hard. But yet, the universe is, you can hold on to as much as you want. Eventually, your grip is going to give. It always does.
For me to kind of, what helped me understand this was realize that the way that we've been taught about death, here in our Western culture.
We really talk about it. Yeah, it was very,
It's something that it's hey, you got one life, you better live it. The church plays a huge role in this too.
Yeah.
And the idea that we die, and then it's heaven or hell, or that the fact that like incarnation was never, an idea that was exposed, at least to me, like growing up.
Well, yeah,
played a role.
Yeah, my experience, like going, like, 'cause, you go to funerals, and I was Catholic, so I go to Catholic, you have the mass at the church, and I would hear the priest on regular mass talk about eternal life and just brushed over it. But so there's this somber feeling when you're at a funeral, and all of a sudden, like, they're like telling you life is eternal, but you could tell in their eyes they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, they weren't like, this so-and-so person left, but they're eternal. But they're like, and you could tell that the body is like, I hope I'm talking the truth because I don't know. And the truth is, no one really does know. But there's ways of living or understanding through deduction or fractals of understanding life. Like, yeah, I'm no longer 5 years old. Where is that 5-year-old body? Mm-hmm. So there's something in us that does shift, but it was never fully explained. Or maybe it was. Maybe I just wasn't there to listen. Maybe I can't blame. But now I'm like, now I'm more open to hearing things, and that's why I'm more understanding. Maybe it wasn't the priest's fault. Maybe it was my inability to let go, so I couldn't hear. Because, hey, if you can't let go and you just listen to this clip by Abraham or listen to me in my talk, you're going to be pissed at us. Mm-hmm. But we didn't come here to upset anybody. But a lot of times when the plane's taking off, you feel the G-force. And if you didn't know what it was, it feels like you're going to crash. But for the person who's been on a plane many times, looks over the person, it's like, relax, we'll be fine. Mm-hmm. We're not going to crash. Mm-hmm. We're just taking off. It's like, oh, okay.
We often label these types of emotions, these types of feelings, these types of experiences as something, and then when it's labeled as that, we think we need to play into that role. Like, I'm supposed to be sad right now, or I'm supposed to, feel this way, and this creates a snowball effect.
Yeah, but yeah, it is like sadness into itself doesn't have to drag along suffering.
No,
yeah.
you can see that, okay, this experience, like you're saying, is part of this entire experience.
And then eventually the clouds part and the sun comes through, and then you're at a completely different place than you ever were before. And, again, we don't ask for this, it happens. It's, at some levels, you get to a certain point in your life where you realize this is going to happen. You just assume, I guess if you die young, you get to evade everyone else dying, right? It's one way of looking at it. So, when people die before their time in my life, the one thing I held on to is they didn't have to go through the death process. Maybe they did in a past lifetime, but they didn't have to witness anyone die. They got, So it's different ways we can mentally tell the story.
Imagine if we grew up and it was, from birth we were taught, you're on this plane to remember who you are. You're here to simply remember who you are. And as many lifetimes as you need to get back to your true self, you'll have. Mm-hmm. You'll keep experiencing life. You'll experience life as a man, a woman, different races, different cultures, etc., until you remember who you are. I think we would all live a lot differently if,
But that actually, I think when I look at it, we're already doing that. We're exactly doing that, but you have to evade it to remember. You have to forget in order to remember. You can't remember unless you forgot. So part and parcel of coming here is the forgetfulness to just remember, because the remembrance is like, oh, I remember where I put those keys. Now I can go home. And that's part of it. So, like, that's why I have no ill will to anyone that told me this and told me that, because that's what they knew. Or in the Zen philosophy or religion, however you want to call it, the master will mess with the student till the student looks at the master like, oh, this guy's squirrely. And then the master's like, you're learning.
Yep.
And that's kind of how it is. Life is the Zen master. It's not being as up. We're just misunderstanding it's playing with us. And when we play back with it, it's glorious. But when we get upset with the play, it's like, I'm like, if you just play along. If someone made fun of you and you laughed, you'd be best friends with that person because you got upset. They keep doing it till you stop getting upset. That's how life is. Life is very interesting, but when you wake up and remember, and a lot of times it is something that's shocking, like a death of a loved one or a loss of a job. A lot of these things shock. But when you get through it, it's like, oh, wow. It doesn't mean the next death is like, oh, so-and-so's dead. Oh, well, let's go get some lunch. Because each individual thing has its own tool for learning. Because if you were just going to have lunch after someone died, there'd be nothing to gain or experience from that. It wouldn't happen. Does that make sense? So that's why it's like we don't know. But when we stay present, we're more equipped to deal with it. But when you're not present, that's when we get distracted, we fall apart. Yeah, we pick ourselves up on the floor and we'll do it again. We could be more efficient by being more present. And I'm learning that.
And that's the thing. I mean, when you fall off that path or you fall away, you pick up on it, and there's no right or wrong. That's simply the mind making a narrative about it. But it's just, I know now, back onto the path, I'm going to go with that flow. I'm going to stop swimming upstream. Yeah,
like what she said in the clip prior to this one. You're always on the path. You're always on the river. It's only one river. It's just that if you're swimming upstream, it feels like disease. If you're going down with the flow, it feels like vacation. But it's the same river. Am I allowing the river or am I fighting the river? So there's only one path. But am I crawling down it? Am I being dragged down it? Or am I walking in the direction in which the path is exciting? Same path. But how I deal with the path, how I perceive the path, is where I get the glory or the sadness or the upsetness or the anger or the joy. And as I learn to perceive things differently, more joy comes out than sadness. But I'm still learning, so I'm not.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, and I'm not waiting to get there either. I'm here exactly where I'm supposed to be.
You're exactly where.
If I'm reading a book and I'm halfway through the book, I'm like, I don't wish I was at the end. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in the book. That's where it is. And that gives me the ability to stay present as much as I can. You should be further along. Says who? I guess so. I don't know. I suppose.
That's it.
Yeah.
I like how you explain that, because it is the loosening up of the way things should be that allow us to become more and more one with our true self. Yeah,
and then, the way we navigate is then through our perception of how we do it. And the navigation is how I feel. I want to stay feeling in this balanced place more than none. But I don't avoid depression. I don't avoid sadness. I can't. I just no longer fight it. When I find myself fighting, I let go, and all of a sudden it turns into something else. I become like the alchemist. It turns into something. It's like, wow. And like, hey, the sunniest day is after a week of clouds, right? But you live in Arizona, it's like you're so used to the sun. It's like, yeah, it's sunny, and people are like, oh my God, it's so sunny here. They came, like my cousin just came from New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, I'm used to it.
Yep.
That's why I have to close my eyes and open them
to
appreciate the sun.
No, but you're right. And I like to use the example of the Chinese finger trap.
Yeah.
That's what life is.
Yeah.
The more we struggle, the more we pull, the tighter it gets.
Yep.
It's not until we just let go.
And eventually you get tired and let go.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm glad we covered Miss Abraham Hicks today.
Yeah, and Esther and Jerry, obviously. Jerry passed, I think, in 2011, was it?
Yep, 2011.
Yeah, so, but yeah. All right, I hope you enjoyed the show of Perspective Shift. And if you haven't checked out Abraham, there's a lot of content on YouTube.
A ton.
Yeah, her and her husband, ex-husband, deceased husband, Jerry, they've written a lot of books and stuff that are out there available for you, like on Amazon, what have you. So
great content.
All right.
Well, this week was great.
It's a wrap.
Thanks for listening, guys. Yeah. If you like what you heard, feel free to leave a comment, shoot us an email. Let us know if there's anybody you want us to, touch base on or, do an episode. We'll be back next week. We're excited to see you guys then.
Yeah. Peace out.
Thanks, guys.